Hello, I am so glad you can join me today. If you're new to this channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today I am making one of Barbados' favorite. This is November, and this is the month that people in Barbados make something called conkies. I've made them before a long time ago. Actually last year November I made them. And today I will be making some more conkies. Before these conkies get started, I have to talk about a little controversy that has been going on. I saw it on Facebook and a couple of people had written me before, so I want to talk about it first, okay? Now, some person put up on Facebook that they're about to make conkies and they say, should I or shouldn't I add eggs and milk to my conkies? People started writing and saying yes, and some people say no, and it's been going back and forth. Now, I'm telling you, Bajans are very particular about their food, and they don't like changes. Some people don't like changes in the way things are done, and the way they were done years ago, the way that their grandmother and their grandparents made them. So let me tell you, give you my opinion on what I think, okay? Now the question was, as I just said, should we add eggs and milk to conkies? A lot of people said no, eggs and milk does not belong in conkies. Some people say sweet potatoes do not belong in conkies because if you put them in, then they're not conkies, they become stew dumpling. Now somebody needs to write me because I thought conkies and stew dumpling were the same thing. So apparently they're not. So some person need to write me and tell me exactly what's the difference, because I don't know the difference. Now I add milk and I add eggs to my conkies. Of course, everybody, you know, it's your preference. You can eliminate those if you like. You don't have to add those. But I'm going to tell you the reason I believe that they weren't added years ago. Now, if you're my age, around my age back then, back in the 60s and the 70s, back in Barbados, a lot of people did not have refrigerators to store stuff. They did not have refrigerators. So you had to take out certain ingredients that is going to make your whatever you make go off and spoil quickly. So, of course, eggs and milk you wouldn't add to conkies back then because we had something called a larder, and that's where people store their food, okay, after they cooked it. So these is something that will last for a couple of days. So you're going to make a whole bunch of them. You're going to give them to friends. You're going to give them to neighbors. And I think people still do that today because you were not able to, you could keep them out of the refrigerator for maybe a couple of days, but then they start to go off and taste start to go off. And sometimes I thought God protected us because the taste go off, and instead of throwing it away, we don't want to waste it, and sometimes we still ate it. Right? But today you have refrigerators so you can store stuff. So if you put milk and eggs in there, you don't have to worry about them going bad because you put them in your refrigerator. And if you want them to last a long time, you put them in a freezer. People didn't have options back then, okay? Today, we have options. I've been making, I had this recipe. This is a recipe that I had, and I had it for years before my kids were born. I forgot all about it. I wasn't using it. And it's only that I started doing cooking for YouTube now that I started going back to my old recipes. I found that and I started using it again. Okay, so whenever I make this recipe and I give it to people, people enjoy it because it's a nice smooth conky. It is not a conky that is people want like what kind of cornmeal because it's rough. No, it's not. It is nice and smooth, okay? And it's very tasty. I give it to friends that enjoy it. They always want to know when I'm making it next. So today I'm going to make some, and I'm going to walk you through the steps of how I make it. There's a lot of ingredients in front of me. If you look here, I have a lot of things here that goes into conkies, and I would explain these as I put things in the pan. I would explain everything as I go along. This is my pumpkin here. This is 2.5 pounds of pumpkin. Some person asked me, what kind of pumpkin do you use? Listen, pumpkin is pumpkin. This is this calabaza pumpkin, but you can use butternut squash. It's all in the same family. Whatever pumpkin you have, you can use. There's no special pumpkin. This is 1 pound of sweet potato. These are all grated. I grated these. And you get your stuff ahead of time, so when you're ready to put this together, you don't have to be searching for stuff. This is sweet potato. This is with the red skin, and for those of you who don't know, or maybe not call it by a different name because you speak a different language, this is what we call sweet potato, and this is what I grated, and this is 1 pound, and this is 2.5 pounds. Okay, I have my sugar and other things, but as I put things together, I will tell you. I also have my banana leaf, which is already prepared. And when we get to that, I will explain that, okay? So let me go ahead and get started putting all this together and tell you exactly what it is that I am doing. Okay, guys, this is my recipe book here that I had for like umpteen years before my kids were born. And this is my conky recipe here that I've been using. And if something works for you, it doesn't, you don't need to change it. You just continue to do the same thing. This one works, it's tasty. People love it, so I continue to do the same thing, okay? You don't have to, I have one of my friends, she's my subscriber, I call her my friend because a lot of subscribers has been with me for a while. They're, to me now, they're family instead of subscribers, I call them family or friends. Her name is Ava, she lives in England, I believe, and Ava is a vegetarian. So now as a vegetarian, she can use all this stuff, she just takes out the eggs. She don't use the egg. I have some butter here. She would find butter substitute, and the milk she would not use, and she don't need to use those. Okay, so let's get started, and I will show you what I'm going to put in here. So I'm going to start with my pumpkin, and once you have everything grated and everything together, it's just a matter of dumping everything in here. Okay, just a matter of dumping. So this is nice rich yellow pumpkin. I'm going to put that in there. To the pumpkin, as I said, this is 1 pound of sweet potato grated. And guys, it was very good. I grated all that by myself. I have a food processor, but I grated it all by hand. And I did it last night. So I did it a day ahead of time. So everything is already prepared to make life easy for yourself, so you're not rushing, okay? I have here 2 cups of coconut, grated coconut, you need that. 2 cups of coconut, put that over here. And you can mix this up. Now over here I have 2 pounds of sugar. This is a lot of sugar, so you could, it's up to you. You can take some of the sugar off. If you do not like it too sweet, you can take some of the sugar off. But this is 2 pounds of sugar, and that's what the recipe calls for. Okay, and that's what I've been using. Okay, so add that in there. And mix this all up together. Now, to this recipe, the main ingredient, which is the cornmeal. This is, because some people write me and ask me, so I'm telling you now ahead of time, this is the fine cornmeal, okay? And this is the one that I use. Now, as I said in my last video, I grew up where we harvest the corn. My grandmother grew this corn. She harvested. We went through the process of hustling the corn, taking all the corn off the kernel. It used to be a lot of work. When my grandmother grew the corn, we grew the corn, and the corn, instead of harvesting the corn, they left the corn on the stalk. And then when it was dry, they took it off, and we had to husk that corn, okay? And what she would do is lay outside in the sun and let it dry. And we would take the corn down to Hill Supermarket, and they would grind that meal, okay? And then you had it like in a white crocus bag. We would take that home, so that meal would last. We make conkies at least a couple times in November. You got your cuckoo, you got your pap, all that kind of stuff they would do from that meal. Today, you have all kind of food processors and stuff that you can grind your own corn. So if you grow corn, because I noticed now a lot of people have been planting stuff and so on, you can grind your own corn and you have your corn, okay? But that's a different story. So now I'm gonna take this meal. This is 2 pounds of meal I have in here, and I'm gonna add all this meal to this. And it's just a matter, as I said, of dumping things in here, and just dump everything in here. Now, some people say, also I was reading, some people say you don't add flour to your guys. I add half a cup of flour. Half a cup of flour is what I add to it. There's not a lot of flour, that's just a little half a cup, which also helps to bind it, and so on. Okay, now I'm going to add here, I have a teaspoon of allspice. I'm gonna add that. I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. I also have here 1 teaspoon of salt. I add that in there. And this is a 1/4 cup of raisins. Now guys, this has been another controversy. Everybody's like, should I add raisins? Should I not add raisins? And people are going back and forth, but it's a preference. If you like raisins, but I think the thing about it is, because when people make conkies, they like to give some to their friends. They like to give away. And some people don't like raisins, and some people like raisins. I add a 1/4 cup of raisins. A 1/4 cup of raisins for all of this is not a lot. So once this is distributed throughout, you're not really going to be eating a lot of raisins in there. So if some person get maybe 1 raisin or 2 raisins, they can always pick it out. Okay? But I like raisins. So that's a 1/4 cup of raisins that I add to that. Okay? Now we're gonna add some other things. I'm just gonna mix this up, just stir this here a little bit. I have here 2 cups of water. You know, this is dry, you need to add some water. So I'm gonna add 2 cups of water to that. 2 cups of water. And you're gonna mix that in. I assure you guys, if you try this recipe, you're gonna keep it in your book and keep it and make it every year. My grandmother made conkies every year. She always put sweet potatoes. So I don't know what people say, no sweet potato in conkies. She always put sweet potatoes in there. I've never seen her make conkies. And my grandmother never measured stuff. My grandmother be like, put a pinch of this and put a pinch of that. She never measured, but I was able to get these measurements. But she never measured. You know, the old people back home didn't measure. Just make stuff, you know, average out stuff, and it came out, always come out good, because they can average it really good. Okay, now this is my milk that people have a problem. Some people put milk, some people don't put milk. If you don't put milk, it's okay. It's not a big deal, okay? You just make it to suit you. This come out nice and smooth. I love it. So I'm making it the way it comes out good. So this is 1 cup of milk, and that is evaporated milk. I'm putting in there. Now I have butter. I find a lot of people use a lot of butter. A few years ago I was in Barbados, and this lady was making some conkies for me. I didn't eat them for a long time. She was making, and she used a lot of butter. And I did watch some videos, and I see people use a lot of butter. You really don't need a lot of butter, because she used a lot of butter, but it still was a little bit dry to me. So I used 8 ounces of butter. This is like 2 sticks of butter. It's 8 ounces, and this is all I use, okay? And that's my butter. Now back in the islands, people use lard. I don't know if they still do, but people use lard in the conkies. I don't use lard. This is coconut oil. I substitute the lard for coconut oil. So this is a 1/4 cup of coconut oil that I'm going to add. Instead of using lard, I use coconut oil. And I have here 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And to this vanilla, I have 1 teaspoon of almond essence. And the only other thing I got to add is my eggs, but I want to just beat the eggs a little bit before I add it in here. So I'm gonna put that, I'm gonna break those in a little bowl and beat them and then add them in here. And this is it, guys. And this is the conkies. And now the next thing I gotta do is just mix this well and then put it in the banana leaves, and I'm put it on to boil. So this is my 2 eggs I just broke. And you're always gonna break your eggs separate. You're never gonna break your egg over what you're doing, because if for some reason the egg is no good, you don't want to spoil that whole batch right there. So you're gonna always beat your eggs separately, and then add it to that. So those are my 2 eggs. And then I'm gonna mix this up well. Once you stir this up and mix it up well, the next thing to do, and this is what it looks like, guys. And this is your conky here. And this is the month of November, which is Independence in Barbados. So when I first made these, some people reminded me that they were made for Guy Fawkes Day, which Guy Fawkes was November 5th, I believe, is Guy Fawkes Day. There's a story about Guy Fawkes Day. You'll have to go on the internet and look that up. But this is when it was made in Barbados. I remember my grandmother making this. I remember Guy Fawkes Day to remember. They used to, Guy Fawkes Day, remember burning a tire. We used to sing this song, burn Mr. Hardin, burn. Burn Mr. Hardin, burn. You guys probably don't remember that. You guys, the younger people, are not going to know about that. So this is the conkies right here. So let me get the banana leaves now and start for the middle leaves. Alright guys, so you get your banana leaf. These leaves I bought from the supermarket, and I bought like a whole roll like this. And then what you do is I cut off the top, because the top is a little bit, the stem at the top like that's a little bit rough, so I cut that off. And this bottom part here I'm going to cut off too, because that is all don't look so good. And then come over the stove. Let me show you how I'm gonna do this. Now we're over the stove. You're gonna put your banana leaf, on the stove like this, and just go around. That way, if there's anything on there, bacteria, any little microscopic bug that you can't see or anything like that, the heat would take care of that. So, and it also makes the plantain leaf pliable, that you will be able to bend it and fold it. The last time I was experimenting, so I did not do this to my leaves. I was trying to see if I could just, I guess, take the easy way out. And of course it didn't work, because as I was putting the conky inside of the leaves, it was just breaking. Okay, so this is how you do it, and this makes it pliable. Okay, this is what I did to my leaf after I put it on the stove. Is I just take a wet paper towel and I just wipe it off like that on both sides. I just did that, and that's how you do your banana leaves. Okay, I already have some over here. I did all this last night. Okay, I think about your banana leaf now, they're pliable. Okay, so I could bend them, I can fold them, and they're not gonna break. Okay, they break on me last time because I was experimenting and that didn't work. Okay, so this is what you would do with your leaves when you are finished. Sometimes the leaves break, so I have some pieces here at the side that you can put inside to help, you know, to stop it from leaking, because then they will leak. You don't want holes in the leaves. So this is the one that I just did. We're gonna add that here, and now we're gonna get started. Okay, so let's get started. Let me bring this back. Oh, it's heavy. Now Now there's a couple ways that you can cook your conkies, and I'm going to show you. Let me explain this to you. I have a steamer, so I am going to put my conkies in my steamer, so I don't need to put anything to the bottom of my pot but water to steam the conkies. Okay, now some people don't have a steamer. You may not have a steamer. That's okay. What you do is all the banana leaves that you cut off, all the pieces, okay, the stems and the pieces, you put to the bottom of the pot. You put all of that to the bottom of the pot. You put a little bit of water to the bottom of the pot, and then you can rest your conkies on top of that. Just put a little bit of water, rest your conkies on top of it, okay? And your conkies is not sitting in the water. And that is if you don't have a steamer to be able to steam them. But I have my steamer, so I'm just going to put my steamer on the top. I'm going to leave those in there with a little bit of water, but I'm going to leave this on the top, okay? So that's how you do it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some water in here, a little bit of water. I'm going to put this on the stove so that it can start boiling. And then I'm going to add my conkies in there once I finish wrapping them, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. All right, guys. So I'll take one of my leaves and I put my leaf here. There's no holes in this leaf. Make sure this is mixed well, guys. So now we're ready to get started. And this is our conkies here. And you see the texture of it. Perfect. So now what I'm gonna do is I have my leaf right here, and I'm gonna take a spoonful and put it in the center of the leaf, like 2 spoonfuls here. That should be about good. Now there's 2 ways to fold this. Sometimes people fold it this way. And I have a little tray over here. Put this tray right here. And I'm going to put it on that tray. And then I'll show you another way to fold it. I'm just gonna do one more. Okay guys, so this one have like a little hole. I can see a little hole in there, and I don't want the liquid from the conky to drip out, so I put this in here to keep it a little, you know, to stop it from running out. So here. Okay guys, so I'm just gonna do this one more for you to see, and I fold it this way, but as I say, there's 2 ways to fold it, so you can choose the way that is good for you, and then you put it in here, and this is how you make your conkies. I'm gonna go ahead and continue to wrap these, and then I'm gonna put them on to steam, and then I'm gonna come back and I will show. Actually, before I put them on to steam, once I'm all finished, I'll show you the finished process, and then I'll put them on to steam. So I will be right back. Okay guys, so I finished wrapping some of them as much as can hold in this saucepan here. I still have some more, but I'll put those in a different saucepan. But as you can see, I wrapped them They're good, they're not leaking, and I don't need to tie them up because, you know, it wrapped pretty good here, so I don't need to go through that other step of tying them up. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this on. The pot is already, the water is already boiling, so I'm gonna put this on and let this cook, and then when they're all done, then I'll come back and I will show you what they look like and taste them for you and tell you exactly what it tastes like. Guys, conkies are all done right here. Finally took them off the stove. Now I set the timer for an hour and a half, and I give them 1 hour and a half, and I cook them on medium, and that's how long it took for me to turn off the stove. And now they are ready for me to taste them for you. See, it's nice and hefty because I put like about 1.5 spoons to 2 spoons in here, so I got a nice hefty. I hate to see conkies, they're all little tiny little things. So I think like a 1 good pot spoon and a half, or maybe 2 is good enough. Okay, so let me go ahead and taste this. Now this is something, if you're not from the islands, in Trinidad and other places they make this too, but they all, you know, all the islands have a different name for it. But growing up, this is something that when your parents make, you would have it either for breakfast in the morning, you'll have one of these, a cup of tea. You will have maybe in the afternoon, you'll have one, and maybe late in the evening before you go to bed, you'll probably have another one, and a cup of tea before you go to bed. And that's how you ate them, because you had a couple of days to eat them before they go bad, right? And that's what we did. So this is what we call conkies, and I am going to go ahead and taste it for you. See, it is nice and firm. And see how smooth it look. Let me just kind of break. And I put a quarter cup of raisins in here, so it's not a lot of raisins, which means if you give one to some person who don't like raisins, they can always pick the raisins out. Okay, and that's what it looks like. So let me go ahead and taste it and tell you exactly what it tastes like. It is nice. It is smooth. It is not grainy. I promise you, it is not coarse and grainy. What's that AC just come up? Guys, that noise that you're hearing, that's the AC just came on. That's why it's so loud. All of a sudden you're hearing that noise. But it is nice. The flavors blend in there really well, and it is delicious, guys. It is delicious. And this is what I like about conkies. I don't want to and sometimes people make the conkies and it dry your throat. You see, I didn't put a lot of butter in here. I put the coconut oil in here instead of lard, and you saw the ingredients that I put in here. It is nice, it is smooth, it is very tasty. Try it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. You see how easy it was? Prepare everything ahead of time and then go ahead and make yourself some conky. I gotta take another bite. Smooth. It is smooth. It can slide right down your throat. You don't need a whole bunch of water when you're eating this. Guys, I hope you guys can make some conkies for your family and share with some friends. Some of these I'm going to be sharing with friends. I'm going to take some to work for my co-worker. So I hope you can do the same thing. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching and you like what you see, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. Press the bell notification. That way every time I put a video up, you will be notified. I'm so happy you guys were able to join me today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you can make these for your family as well. Until next time, bye-bye.